Hey, what's up, Unbroken Nation? And you and I probably can count dozens of entrepreneurial friends and counterparts who have taken their life over the years because you do find like success is not what you think it's going to be. Like it's just not. And so I would love for you to kind of talk about your story, your background, and kind of how you've gotten to where you are today.
Sure, dude. Love to. And if I go too long, just cut me off, redirect me.
Right.
So, yeah. That's actually cool. I didn't know you grew up LDS. I grew up LDS too. Pretty religious household. My dad, you'll know. He was a bishop, stake president. You'll know that lingo. But for people who
Yeah.
don't know, it's kind of like a preacher. Just everything I'm saying equivalent of a preacher. And so pretty religious. I had two older sisters, and then I had two younger brothers, two younger sisters. I grew up I would say I was sheltered is a very way to say it. And so I was kind of weird from, the outside world standpoint where they're like, this guy doesn't know what a cuss word is. Like he's never hung out with girls. So I got made fun of a lot as a kid and specifically about being Mormon. And I'm not
Mhm.
sure why that was, but when I moved to Texas, I don't know, kids are kids, they'll just make fun of you for anything.
Totally.
And so around, I think I was going into sixth grade is where I kind of started realizing people were making fun of me. Like I became aware I was the class clown or not class clown. I was a class like joke.
Joke. Yeah.
And that really hurt. Like I didn't realize that. And when I did, I started working out, to beat the kids up. That's what I told my parents, and so that was a big shift for me because I was 12 years old. I started going to the gym at 5:30 in the morning. Then they dropped my sisters off at Bible study. You'll know what it is like early morning seminary, right? And then I go to school, and 3 months later, I was jacked, because I was maturing and no one else was lifting weights. And then people started stop messing with me, and I was like, all right, like okay, so I take action, I get results. This is pretty nice. And that gave me a ton of confidence to basically I went from like one of the worst players on the football team to one of the best. I went from like getting no girls to getting all the girls. I went from like okay grades to straight A student. And I was like, man, this shit is like, this is it. Like I figured it out. And so I became very driven. And when I saw I was good at sports, my whole life became about sports because I started, gaining clout. I was in Texas. Texas football is king. And I started getting a lot of recognition. I was like, hey, this feels pretty good. It feels a lot better than what happened before. And my whole mission in life was like to play in the NFL. So I became one of three sophomores to make the varsity team, which was like, a huge deal, at least in Texas. That was my life. Like I trained from when I was 14, I trained 9 hours a day. I trained 3 hours of basketball, 3 hours of running and sprints, and 3 hours of weights the whole summer just so I could make the team. And, I kinda did that all the way until I was about 22. So I got to play a little Division I football, had a ton of injuries. Don't think I was good enough either, but I played with multiple first round picks. So when I was done, I knew like I'd done everything I could do. So that was a good feeling. But then I became kind of depressed because I was like, man, this is the rest of my life. This looks terrible. Like I was an engineer and I had about a year left and I had a mentor who convinced me to drop out of school and his name's David Fry. And I was doing modeling. I was like a server, and I was going to school. And he's like, "Dude, like, you want to make a lot of money? Is that your goal?" I was like, "Yeah," because I couldn't play in the NFL anymore. And so he's like, "All right, well, drop out of school, and I'll show you everything I know." And I was like, "Are you serious?" I didn't know anything about business. I didn't even understand how business worked. And so I dropped out of school. My girlfriend at the time, I don't know if this was part of why she broke up with me, but she broke up with me. I think that was part of it. Her mom thought I was stupid. My family thought I was stupid. I thought I was stupid. He just didn't. And so for 23, about 25, that's kind of when football ended. I learned everything I could from him about digital marketing. I didn't make any money. He really knew the low ticket stuff, but I didn't have any money to really like run ads or make it successful, but I learned everything on the back end, which was super helpful. Around 25, I'm starting to kind of feel like a loser, more of a loser. So I move up to Utah and I start doing door-to-door sales for a company called Alder. And I did that for about 7 or 8 months. And that was probably the most pivotal point in my life because I learned how to sell lights out. I mean, I really learned how people think and how to talk and psychology. And then around that time, I saw an ad on Facebook and it said how to build an online fitness business. And I didn't really even have social media at the time. I mean, I take that back. I did a little bit when I was doing my modeling and it grew pretty fast, but it was just people who wanted to look at my body, right? Like if you guys type my name in on Google, you'll see some interesting pictures. I used to have girls that were like, my mom typed your name in and she saw these pictures and I was like, oh Lord, so didn't help. But then I did that. I signed up, I paid, $5,000 and they taught me about high ticket and I didn't even know what high ticket was. And so basically I was like, okay, so just long story short, I'm selling it for 47, sell it for 1,500. They're like, yeah, right. First week I made 10 grand. Year later I did 1 million. And then, we're close to about 50 million in sales. And we've been in business like a little over 4 years now, which is my first year I only did 1 million, which is even more nuts to me because of the trajectory. But yeah, that's a short version. And yeah, hopefully that's good.
Yeah.
Now you can go into